All right, this is going to be a very straightforward basic prep sequence touching on kind of a one of everything or the greatest hits. What you will need: lacrosse ball or a tennis ball, 1-inch super band, foam roller, and then the peanut. Obviously, if you don't have some of this stuff, just work through what you can work through and then skip over the things that you can't. So we're going to start out rolling the foot, and it's just going to be about 15 to 20 seconds. So I think oftentimes people get a little carried away with some of their soft tissue work, and we're going heel to forefoot, inside, center of the foot, and the outside part. And they spend entirely too much time, say, sitting on the foam roller, using a lacrosse ball, and it's about frequency. So it's not so much duration. You're not going to go in there and fix everything, you know, if you spent 3 hours using a lacrosse ball. But if you take about 5 minutes every day and work the lacrosse ball, over time that tissue is going to be much healthier. Now what we're doing is partially looking for hot spots. Go ahead and swap sides. Hot spot being somewhere that's tender, somewhere that feels like just the tissue is pretty dense, like there's a little knot or a ball, or just any kind of discomfort. If you find those areas, then you can go through some small movements staying right around it, and you can go sideways over that. All right, now we're gonna go to some midfoot mobility. So here, all you're gonna do is take and roll your foot over the ball. So I'm starting out with a position of my big toe mound. I'm gonna go over the ball, and then you're gonna see that outside part of your foot getting twisted up. So my heel is going one way, my forefoot is going the other way, and that's that mobility we're after. So let's go ahead and do 5 of those. If you want a little extra in there, you can turn your hips in towards that foot. You'll just get a little more torque. And as we go through this, my count may be off. If you're going to do an extra one and you're doing it intentionally, do it on the side that's a little bit tighter or needs a little bit more work. All right, swap sides, right off the big toe mound, and roll across that arch. You can turn your hips into it. And I haven't really figured out the lighting in this room, but this is possibly the dojo for the next couple of months, so we'll just have to deal with it. All right, one more. So now that the midfoot's mobile, let's get down into the big toe. So what we're gonna do is, just from your basic half kneeling position, make sure your heel maintains contact. A lot of times I'll take and cup it with my hand, and then I can help keep it down. So we're gonna do 9 total reps, 3 different angles. So we're gonna go in towards the big toe, then back out, straight down the center of your foot, back out, and then we're gonna go to the little toe and back out. Now we're gonna go 2 more trips, all 3 positions. So in towards the big toe, down the center of the foot, and the little toe, and then one more time. Big toe, center of the foot, and the little toe. Now for big toe work, we're gonna take your lacrosse ball or tennis ball, position it under the big toe with the other 4 digits flat on the floor. You may have to kind of move your toes around to get this into position. And then what I do is put a hand at the end of the ball just to keep it from squirting out. So from here, first thing we're gonna do is work on that forward shin angle. Once we have it, then we're gonna go ahead and do a heel lift. And we're gonna do 5 of these total. So forward shin angle, heel lift. 3 more. All right, 1 more. And you ought to feel a little tension running up the bottom of your foot and in your calf with this. All right, swap sides. So first, 9 reps total. We're gonna go big toe, down the center of the foot, and to your little toe. So make sure your foot's not rolling all over the place. We're trying to keep the foot oriented the same, and we're simply changing the position of the tibia, or we'll just say this lower leg portion, changing its angle, which is changing the stretch on the muscle. Down the center, and then little toe, and then 1 more time each. Big toe, center of the foot, and little toe. Big toe, other 4 digits on the side, hold the ball so it doesn't go anywhere. So shin angle first, and then do a heel lift. 4 more times. One more. All right, ankles, feet, and big toe should be nice and mobile. Foam roll time. What we're gonna do today is pretty much focus on the low back to upper back with the lats included and then getting into the hips. And that's more often than not what I do give you. It's not that rolling the hamstrings and the other parts aren't important. However, these are key areas, and my fear is if I give you all of the areas to do, none of the areas will get done. All right, position at your low back, hips up, arms crossed over to get your shoulder blades out of the way. And then this is the speed I want. So we're looking at 3 slow rolls. So think of this as kind of like a sponge. If you squeeze a sponge out in a bucket of water and then release it, water that was in the sponge goes out, nice clean water comes in. All right, that was my third one. So now I'm gonna go ahead and rotate onto the side. So arm up. Just wanna make sure we don't get too low and get down around the floating ribs or down around the kidney. So just think of where that meaty part of your lat ties in. And then from here, we're gonna roll all the way up, backside of the shoulder, and then back down to your start point. 2 more times. So that water squeezing out and coming back in, it just keeps the fluid from getting congested in the tissue. It's gonna help with tissue hydration in the long haul. And if you do 8 to 10 rolls, you're not gonna squeeze any more fluid in and out of the tissue. It's not gonna necessarily be any more beneficial. So one of my pet peeves is definitely watching people hang out 10, 15 minutes on a foam roller. All right, we've rolled the back, we've rolled the lats. Now it's time for shearing. So shearing, we wanna pin the skin and then we're sliding that skin back and forth. That's one reason I like a rumble roller. It grabs the skin a little bit better. So starting just above the waistline, and it's gonna do the shimmy. This is definitely an acquired skill over time. And then just keep working your way all the way up to the upper back. All right, going into the hips. So you're gonna cross one leg over the other. Let's just say we're gonna start on the right side. So right leg crossed over left. We're gonna go ahead and roll the entire glute. Same idea, 3 slow rolls, squeeze the fluid out. If you do have a tender spot, you can hang out on it about 10 seconds. It should start to go away, but you don't need to hang out there 10 minutes. All right, once I've rolled, now I'm gonna go ahead and do the shearing component. So starting all the way over by the sacrum, just gripping that skin, and then I'm just gonna work right across the waistline. So just think you're following the line just below your shorts, all the way to the outside. Staying on the right leg, we're gonna go into the quad. So we're gonna come up the outside part of the quad, down the center, up the inside, and then wherever you feel more going on, that's your third pass. And what I like to do is hook the foot so that as I roll, I'm bending my knee, stretching that tissue out, and getting in a little bit deeper. Now I'm gonna come up the middle. So for me, out of those 2 areas, the outside gives me more excitement. So I'm gonna do 1 more pass going up the outside here. All right, so we're not gonna roll the IT band. It's just a big, thick tendon, so we don't need to roll it. But I do like to shear this area just so we can try to create as much separation as possible between all those layers. So start just above the knee, pin the skin, and we're gonna wiggle our way down. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the quad. So just rake that skin back and forth. All right, now get ready for it. Here's the professional transition. I'm gonna take my left leg, hook it on the end of the roller, spin the roller, and now I'm ready to do my inner thigh. So we're starting just above the knee, all the way up to the groin, and then all the way back down. 3 slow rolls. After the third roll, I think it's easiest just to move the leg for the shearing component versus looking like something else. I used to work with a lot of youth athletes back on Hilton Head, tennis and golf. I pretty much just passed on trying to get them to do any of the shearing through the adductor. Always way too much giggling going on. And probably half of it was me. All right, other side, we're crossing the left leg over the right. So getting that glute out of the way, and then roll, 3 slow rolls. All right, third roll, now we're gonna shear. So starting by the sacrum, just start raking that skin back and forth, and you're following the waistline, working your way to the outside. All right, quad, we're gonna go up the outside part. So I'm hooking the foot. As I roll up, I'm bending my knee more, stretching that muscle out, and allowing me to get a little bit deeper in there. Down the center. And just like my other leg, the outside part is where my excitement is, so I'll do a third pass there. All right, IT band, just shearing it, so enough tension or enough pressure to keep the skin there, and then wiggle it back and forth. Same thing on the quads. And in case you didn't get the professional transition before, right knee hooks the edge of the pad or the foam roller. I'm spinning it. Now I have it perfectly positioned perpendicular to my leg. All the way up to the groin, back down. Third one, starting up high, I'm simply gonna move the leg up and down and then work my way all the way down to the knee. All right, foam rolling's out of the way. So now let's start getting your hips loosened up a little bit. So we're gonna go with 90-90, 90 front leg, 90 back leg. These holds are gonna be about 20 to 30 seconds. Once you're positioned, think tall, always initiate your movement from the belly button, then you can finish with the rest of the body. So I'm gonna get tall, I'm turning my belly button to the left. Now I'm gonna use my hand, grabbing onto the knee to provide some more leverage, get a little deeper stretch, but initiate that from your belly button. You ought to feel a nice stretch on the front side, kind of the hip flexor of your back leg. So we're gonna hang out here about 20 or 30 seconds. I'm gonna have to come up with more filler info to talk while we're holding our stretches. All right, come back up. We're gonna get tall, initiate from the belly button. We're now turning it to the back leg. And then I am gonna put my hands on each foot and help facilitate that stretch. So belly button, get what I can. And now I'm gonna hold this 20 to 30 seconds. So the reason we like to stay tall in these postures, as soon as we start flexing over, we're gonna crank too much rotation down around the low back. And on average, our low backs are hypermobile and our upper backs are pretty tight. So hips are tight, upper back's tight. Low back is hypermobile, so it ends up moving too much. All right, back to our 90-90. If we drew a line from your knee to your hip, and now we extend that line going off of your knee, all you're gonna do is reach right over that line. This ought to give you a nice big stretch in that forward leg. And we're gonna hang out about 20 to 30. Continue to reach when you're in this position so that you can really incorporate the lat as well. So we're not just thinking, okay, I'm doing a glute stretch of the forward leg. What we're also doing is getting this pattern that comes up from the glute to the opposite side lat. All right, swap everything up. So we're at 90-90, getting nice and tall, initiating the turn from my belly button. Once I have everything I can get, now I'll get some leverage and stay tall. 20 to 30 second hold. All right, back to center. Again, tall. I'm initiating with my belly button, turning it to the left first or the back leg. Then I'll use my feet, hands, and provide some leverage. All right, now we're gonna do a couple of these windshield wiper concepts. So after I go through some static stretching, I like to get them moving a little bit more. So on your back, feet are gonna be a little wider than hip width. And then all we're gonna do is lower to one side. And as much as you can, try to keep your hips down. The tendency is to kind of give and just rotate through your low back. Remember, low backs rotate too much, they get used too much. So I'm really trying to keep my hips as flat as possible. And same thing when I go this way. So what I'm trying not to do is just pop the hip up. I'm working on internal rotation of one leg, external of the other. So we'll just go back and forth about 5 or 6 times. All right, triple hip opener. So you're starting out in your basic half kneeling position. Big key here, control your lumbopelvic position. So there's a big tendency to allow movement to occur through the low back. If numbers are helpful, you have about 13 to 15 degrees of extension in a perfectly normal hip. So that means we're looking at about this. So when you see yourself or someone else going into these really deep positions, there are only 2 possible options. 1, they have dislocated their hip, or 2, they're extending through their low back. So keep it targeted. So I'm a big order of operations person. Half kneeling, I'm gonna go ahead and do a reverse pelvic tuck. Actually a pelvic tuck, so reverse pelvic tilt. Getting my low back into a neutral position. Once I'm here, now I'm gonna go tight gut, tight butt. That's gonna keep me from dumping through the spine. And then we're gonna go 5 times straight ahead. Arms go up as you rotate. 3, 4, 5. And a component I'm going to be adding in, we're now going to come down behind the head and we're going to go into the stretch and then turn towards the up leg. 1, 2. So this is going to bring the psoas into play a little bit more. But remember, keep that pelvic tilt, keep the butt tight, keep the stretch located at the front side of your hip. You shouldn't feel much pressure at your low back. 1 more. Front leg, we're gonna kick it out on an angle. Angle is dependent on you. So what you need to do is keep your hips square. So if your knee is dipping to the inside, you need to bring that leg in a little bit. So I'm here, both arms out in front. So I'm gonna turn away from the leg and drive my knee towards the little toe. We're gonna go 5 times. All right, now go to a wide knee position. So as much width as you can get. Same leg that was up, we're gonna kick it out. So I do want your foot flat as much as possible, toes pointing straight ahead. 5 times, gently sit back. That'll increase your stretch. Come back out to decrease it. Two more. And now we're gonna do all of that on the other side. So starting out, half kneeling, pelvic tilt, tight gut, tight butt, and 5 times going straight ahead. And then we're gonna bring your hands down and move into the stretch and rotate towards the up leg. 5 times. All right, bring this leg out on an angle. Make sure your knee does go to the little toe and your hips stay square. Arms out in front. We're gonna rotate the opposite direction that you're driving the leg. Two more. All right, back to your wide knee position. As much width as you can get. Kick that foot out, foot flat, toes pointing straight ahead, and 5 times. Gently sit back and come out of it. One more. All right, so one more mobility component, and then we're gonna go to a couple of activation, and then you are ready for your workout. So we're gonna go with that push-up position, alternating low lunge. We're gonna go 3 of all of these things. So push-up position, bring that leg forward, keep the back knee straight, and then work to sink your hips. And then the other side. So you don't have to hang out very long in these positions, but you do need to get your alignment right. All right, coming up on the third time for the right foot forward. So now I'm gonna take my right hand, reach under the arm as far as I can, and then initiate this turn from my belly button, and then finish the turn. 3 times. Now take your hand, plant it inside the arch of your foot. You can lean into your leg, spin the back foot, and open up the other way. 3 times. And swap sides. Remember to turn from the belly button as much as possible first, then finish your turn. Hand inside the arch of your foot, lean into that leg, spin your back foot, and 3 times. All right, X-Band hip primer. I'm gonna go into your feet, about hip width, and you don't have to have what we're doing is waking muscles up. So, shoulders down and back, a little tension through the arms, short steps. These short steps, you keep tension on your hips a little bit better. And I have adjusted this where I've included a forward and back walk. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now your hip hinges. So we're going to lean over, choke down on the band. Nice and tall, tripod weight distribution. Hips as far behind your ankles as possible. Come up, squeeze your butt. Two more. And then single leg. All hip hinging is about getting your hips behind your ankle. So you don't want to lose your big toe mound contact, but much more of this is going to go through your heel than the ball of your foot. 2 more. Swap sides. Drive the hips back, hips forward, squeeze your glute. Two more. All right, last thing we're gonna throw in is the upper body. Grip as narrow as you can, but you need to be able to roll the elbows over. So we're gonna go 5 times. And now choke in on the band a little bit, apply some outward stretch, and then you do them behind the neck pull downs. Keep stretching the band as you pull down. All right, so now we are mobile, now we are active, now we are ready to work out. Yes, I do know I forgot to use the peanut, but that's okay. Another sequence.